Welcome to GM's Tip. This is GM Rick here, and today I'm going to be talking with my little sidekick, Mindy GM over there, about running a module and the things you need to know about when GMing about running a module. And it can be modules like out of D&D, like Curse of Strahd, or out of the Abyss, Princes of the Apocalypse, The Rise of Tiamat, all well-known ones that 5e has. It could be Emerald City out of Mutants and Masterminds, and it's more of a city campaign adventure, but it has modules in it. It could be ones out of the system for Numenera, like Into the Night or the Violet Veil. So you can come up with a lot of different things. I'm going to pick today, again, my game of choice, Pathfinder. And I'm going to pick a module here. So it's Daughters of Fury. And so what do you need to do when you're running a module, or doing a one-run module, or even doing a module as part of your campaign? Well, one of the things I always say ahead of time, and it's a very important thing, is read the module. So many GMs just get ready on the seat of their pants for the weekend, and they have skimmed the module sometime back in their vast history. Take 1 to 2 weeks ahead of time and read the module. Give yourself the time to get ready and prep for it. What are you going to need? I always say, number 2, get a notebook, a spiral notebook, and write down or pick a section where it's devoted just to that module. What are you going to do? You're going to write yourself notes about the key storyline. Why are the players going, and this goes back to what we talk about again and again, it is about the goals, or the reason why the characters are doing what they're doing. You're going to write down key obstacles or key NPCs. You want to make note of those, because especially if you're going to be adding some of your own, which I always suggest doing to the module so that you spice it up a little bit, you want to take notes on that. So you have them right there at your touch. Right next to them, their motivations, the things that are the reasons why they're doing what they're doing in the main goal, or in the main obstacles to the players. Write down their motivators, because players are going to really key on those things and do things like doing diplomacy checks or influencing checks to maybe take it a non-combat route. So you want to have those influencers there to see if the characters can overcome the NPCs or the monsters, the key monsters and baddies, by using skill checks. And that's always a great thing when you're doing adventures, and award them the points for them, or the values going towards the next adventure. Get familiar with the maps. So in this case, there's a huge map inside this adventure. And I love this because this is inserted in there with a nice little sticky resin, which I'm taking out now. And you'll see I'm taking a little sticky resin off of it. And so now you've got a map. What is this a map of? In this case, it's the city they're going to be in. So there's a huge map of the city. Okay, always nice. Woo, ah. And then they even have some things of the key rituals going on. So this is a key adventure point. Get familiar with these things. These are important when you're reading over. You're going to be drawing these onto your erasable map. So you always want to have that kind of information there. Make sure you get your stickies off of both sides so you don't tear your map. Valuable things. I recommend, if you got the money, laminate these things. Why? Laminate allows you to draw on them with erasable marker, and it allows you to keep them in great condition, which is something you want to do when you're playing with these. You don't want to wreck your adventures. There's other things in the modules, so you'll have places that you're going to go and little things you're going to do. Get familiar with the story, especially these things. They have things up here in the columns that are in a lot of these things where the designer is telling you this is something you want to know about if something goes wrong with that NPC or with somebody or with a situation. Get used to the encounter tables and where they are. In fact, you may even want to make copies of the encounter tables so that way you have them at your fingertips. Any of the handouts, remember to do copies of the handouts. You don't want to be letting your players look into your module. They will read. I promise you. I don't care how much you trust them, they will read. So you want to make copies of those. And, thumb through. Make copies of these key NPCs so that then when you're describing them to the players, you can whip it out. I take a picture of them a lot of times on my little iPad, and I will flip through it and show them that. And they can even hand it around to each other because there's not any major key information. One of my players is remote, so in this case, I'm having them show him over Skype what he needs to know. Write down in your notebook what is the key defining goal moment. Who the guy is there or woman on the NPC side, what their end game is. And you can change that around. So write the end game scenarios. Maybe there's 3 or 4 end games that'll be the ender of that module. Write down any key encounters in there. So you've got them on your paper. Yes, you've got them here. But by God, write them where you can get to them. So that way you can have them set out behind your screen and you are looking at them. And you're keeping that in your mind because you're going to be mulling what's going to happen in your mind. Write down possible outcomes. Promise you, the players will think of one you haven't. But at least you write down the main ones that they can take and what will be the A plus Bs. This action plus this action is going to take this result. This one plus this one is this result. You want to have different resolutions for your players in your stories. And that can be at major milestone points. Not just the end game, but you can do it for the milestone points. Really get familiar with monsters and NPCs, especially their actions. Because it'll tell you at the bottom of the modules, here's what they're going to do in round 1, round 2, round 3, round 4. You can switch it up, and maybe you write those things down for you. That way you have here's what we're going to do, especially if there's things like mage armor, or there's certain things they're going to take for boosts or buffers. Those are the things you want to do. If they're going to buff up their character, or their NPC selves, you want to be able to have that in your mind so it's like clockwork. Boom, boom, boom. Because what you don't want to do during the game is read and say, hang on, guys, read. Write it out. I'm notoriously bad for reading, and it's not good. It halts the play. So what I do in my mind is familiarize myself. I don't even read. I just set it there, and I've got that sheet in front of me now. Now I can look and say, okay, if they do A plus B, this is what the bad guy's going to do, or this is what their antagonist or protagonist is going to do to deal with the situation. And also, have an idea on these items, the special items at the back of the appendices. Where are things? Maybe you put little stickies in there to remind yourself where key items are, because you want to be able to do that. Key monsters, make sure you know where they are in the appendices. What you don't want to do with your players is show them the bad things that are going to come up on them. And maybe there's things like, in this case, it tells you about the town. So you want to read about the town and have those key people they're going to meet in mind. Again, notebooks are great for that. Make those little notes. If you want to change the encounter tables, then do a new encounter table inside there, because sometimes these books are out of date. Mind you, the older you get with the material, the more out to date it is. And maybe the system has published new things or new abilities or new scores. You want to make note of that so that you can change up your encounters so that they match the new changes, especially if your players are using them. Again, do your NPCs and your Herolabs. I've mentioned Herolabs before. So Herolabs, as you can tell, the bad guys just fell off the table with Mini GM. So they're now being picked up. I love that. She has the dice tower. She has everything. She loves Mini GMing around me. But I'm going to say you want to definitely get your NPCs, if you make changes to them, into Herolabs, because they're real easy to make changes with. You can copy the material out of the adventure. You can even put the custom encounter tables in there for different systems. So keep that in mind. Again, what I'm saying to you, what are the 3 keys here? Prep work. Write it out so you're ready to go. Make any changes or modifications ahead of time. Get familiar with key things, especially the end game scenario, and any changes you want to make, and possible outcomes. Get familiar with monsters. Get familiar with towns and places you're going to go. Get familiar with key magic items or technological items or change items or key storytelling items. You want to be familiar with that so that when you're describing that, it is coming out of you as if you have memorized everything. You don't have to memorize it. You just have it ready. And you are able to look through it really quickly. And as your players are doing something, you glance down real quick, glance up, and now you're ready to go. Any type of big speeches that you're going to do with your characters, write out some little points. You don't have to write up the whole verbatim speech so you're reading it. Key points. Paraphrase. Paraphrase as much as you can. It's good for you. Make sure you draw out maps ahead of time. If you've got 5 or 6 of these, and I'll show you what they look like, and you can get them from Paizo or you can get them from anywhere. These maps, I love these things, and you're going to see what I did ahead of time. Okay? What did I do? I mapped out my town. The town my players are playing in. Why did I do that? So that way I just lay it down and we go. There's a back side. You can do that on the back side. You want to come in as prepared as possible. It streamlines the whole process for you. And then get out any of the dice ahead of time. So I spend about, usually before a session, an hour to 2 hours setting everything up, getting out all my little miniatures, setting them up in the things, the dice, any other tools and aids I need. That way my prep work gets me ready so that when I go in, I'm ready to go. I have my PC up with my Herolabs. I have my tablet with my Herolabs. Why? I can have 2 licensed versions of it. I can have lots of things, so I can have different NPCs up. So keep that in mind. Get your dice towers ready. Get everything laid out for your players. Any sort of smells. We got these little candle things in here. My fiance's real good. It says, what are you doing today? So we'll have fir and pine smells. We'll have other smells like an ocean or like winter. So you got the cranberry and the smells of the cider, the mulled cider. Smells evoke in people's minds the reality of the picture. So don't be afraid to use all the tactiles. Music. Get your music list ready to go. Maybe have it playing low in the background on your computer while they come in, or on your iPad that you, or your iPhone, or your Samsung Galaxy, or whatever phone you want to use. Have it playing ready on a list and have a repeat loop. These are all important things. I use Syrinscape. Syrinscape, beautiful tool. I don't know if you guys saw it on Critical Role the other day, and it got mentioned by Matt and the bunch. I use Syrinscape too. I love Syrinscape. They do sci-fi, they do fantasy, they do ones for systems. They're going to do more for D&D and the different modules. Syrinscape is really coming in its own. And there's other ones that add into Syrinscape. There's ones out on YouTube. There are whole playlists of Celtic music, other compilations, movie compilations. Pick it out. You want to have that music going because it sets the ambient theme. It kind of gets the blood boiling and the juices going. So these are things, but get all these things ready to go. And it's going to be, sorry, pause, because Mini GM wanted to come on cam. And we're not too keen, being she's young, coming on cam. So get everything ready, get everything set for your mood, and then go into the adventure. And just be prepared, like I say, with the notes and everything else. These are the little tips that will get you ready. And also, one other tip, and it's a really important and fun one. For all your different creatures, write down in your key encounter, set down what voices you want to use. So you make a note to yourself, so each one has a different voice or accent. Lots of fun. I talked about it on the other one with the gender things the other day. I don't mind doing female voices. I don't mind doing effeminate voices. I don't mind doing different accents. I'm not great at it. I'm not like our voice actors on Critical Role. I'm not going to win an Emmy for doing it. Matthew might win an Emmy. I'm not. Okay? But it's fun. And my guys do their voices too, and they'll do their tones, and they will get all puffy, and I love it. It's just so much fun when you do that. So keep that in mind. Those little nuances, I don't care how silly you sound, so what? It's a game. Have fun with it. Lose all the inhibitions of, I'm going to sound weird, or I'm going to be insecure doing this voice, or I'm going to screw something up. Yes, you will. And yes, it'll be funny, and yes, everybody will remember it, and you'll all laugh about it, and it'll be one of those memorable points. So, they love my Varishan voices from Valerian. Oh my lord, they roll their eyes every time I go into the Varishan voice, and they do these things, and they talk with my Varishan. What's the matter with it? And you will laugh too, and that's okay. It's the fun of doing these things. So, I hope this helps with prep work. I hope it helps you guys to have a great weekend of adventures. That's why I'm doing this, to get you all set. Enjoy yourself and love the art of being a GM. It is one of the best gifts and funnest things you can ever do. Thanks, and have a great week.